Thank you, Tomoko, for telling me that there's no sound. The so let me restart that intro. A little technical difficulty here because I got the soundboard and I turned off the sound because there's the people mowing the lawn over there. But let me go back. Let me reset. And again, thank you for telling me no sound. 90% of businesses that fail either didn't have a business plan or they had a useless one. I mean, that's like really hard statistic to swallow. And if you're in business and you don't have a business plan, the odds of you failing are pretty high. 1% of all businesses that start make it past 10 years. So let me take you back to 1993. I was living in Japan. I went to Japan to do martial arts. I love this martial art called Aikido. I'm very passionate about it. And I went to Japan to be able to train and study every day, all day long. And that's what I did. And in 1993, the American consulate had a business plan competition. It was the American Chamber of Commerce in Japan, which was run through the embassy. They had a business plan competition. I joined that business plan competition and I wrote a business plan for a martial arts school. Like I dreamed of opening up a martial arts school. And then when I moved back to the United States in 1998, I opened up a martial arts school using that business plan. And to this day, I still have that program going. So I've beat the odds and I had a very useful business plan. And, you know, I'm really proud of that. It's exciting to know that my business is still there. Now, if you're thinking about using YouTube, okay, hold on one second. Cannot hear you 2 minutes ago. Okay. Someone texted me, cannot hear you 2 minutes ago, but now you can hear me, right? Okay. Yeah. Now you can hear me. Now I can hear you. Thank you. Let me just type that in. Thank you. Okay. So if you're using YouTube for your business and you don't have a plan for it, chances are you're going to fail. And it's not because of YouTube, it's because of how you're thinking about using YouTube. So today, I want to walk you through how to put together a business plan for YouTube so that you can use it to grow your business. And we're going to cover several different things today. And I am also going to show you at the very end, I'm going to walk you through a workbook that I put together. And if you're on the call, if you're on this live chat, if you're on this live stream, and you want to download that workbook for YouTube to focus in and build a plan so that you can use it to be successful, I will put it in the chat. You chat me. Let me know in the chat if you'd like it, and I'll put in the link so you can download it. And if not, I will make this available later. I mean, I plan on making a full video on my YouTube channel going through this workbook and having a download link so that you can download it and make a plan for your business so that you can use YouTube to grow it. Now, let me walk back for a second and make sure that you understand that this live stream and this workbook is not intended for people that just want to grow a YouTube channel. Okay, this is completely different. Like growing a YouTube channel, getting subscribers, getting views is very different than using YouTube to grow your business. There's two different things. Okay, you're after two different things. Oh, okay. Tomoko says I want the workbook. Okay, let me drop the link in the chat because Tomoko said she wants the workbook. Let me find the link. Here's the link. Okay, I'm going to put the link in the chat. Uh, Multitasking here while I'm live streaming. Maybe one day I'll actually have a team. There you go, Tomoko. The workbook is in the chat. Download that at the very end. We'll talk about that. And now we're going to just continue building on this. Okay. So the first thing I'd like to talk about today is the business goal. Right. So if you're thinking about using YouTube for your business, you know, what is the business goal? What's the foundation behind this? Okay. Um, because basically every business plan starts with a business goal not with a content goal. So you got to put the content goal to the side and think, what's the business goal? Do you want to build awareness? Do you want to close more deals? Do you want to just build your brand recognition? I mean, these are very, very important things to know what you want to do. And then once you understand what you want to do, then it's easier to create a plan, like a content plan. But I personally think that the main goal would be to build your revenue. I mean, if you're going to be pouring money into video production and thumbnail design artists and copywriters, all that stuff, you know, it would be good if the revenue increased, because you don't want to do something if the revenue is not going to increase if you're in a business. Okay. Like, let's say you get 1 million subscribers and you get zero sales. That's not helping your business, and viably for a long period of time, it's going to fail. Someone down the line, like if you're in a big corporation, the CEO or the CFO looks at the numbers and says, we're spending $250,000 a year on this and it has nothing to show for it. They're going to cut it. And again, that's another reason that you want to put this workbook together, this business plan workbook, so that then you understand the metrics, and we'll talk about the metrics a little bit later, that you need to know so that you can actually have this idea sell through the executives, like the CEO and the CFO, and approve it. Okay. So having a content goal, what are the mistakes of having a content goal? That's when you're thinking about, like, the stats, like how many viewers did I get? How many subscribers do I have? And is my channel growing? And then I think, those, none of those are business goals. So you really want to stay away from thinking about that way when you're writing this plan or thinking about this plan. Okay. So then we want to reframe and ask yourself, what job is YouTube responsible for inside the business? Okay. And like, I'm looking at the chat right now. So if if you know the answer to that question, drop it in the chat. Let me know. Okay. Like, what job is YouTube responsible for inside the business? Okay. Um, and some examples. Let me read off some examples for you. Supporting pipeline growth, educating buyers before sales calls, reducing friction in long sales cycles, and establishing authority in a crowded market. So those are just some examples of that, what you can write down as the job your YouTube videos are playing within the business. Okay. And if YouTube doesn't have a job, and this is just like one really, really important thing to understand. If that video, if that YouTube, if that channel doesn't have a job, then it's just a hobby, right? You're just having fun doing it. Maybe you enjoy it. I mean, that's okay too, but then viably long term, it's not gonna sustain itself, because everything needs an income. Like, unless you were born with a trust fund and you're just having fun, and that's fine too. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but this live stream is not geared towards you. If you're like that, this is geared to making sure that your content production is viable and that it's going to be sustained over a long period of time, and it's going to help your business grow. Okay. So let's take a second and look at the buyer versus the viewer, right? So when you're putting up a YouTube video, we're always thinking about views, right? But let's reframe that into buyers, not viewers. Who is the buyer? So this is the first level of what you need to think about, so that you can start coming up with ideas to create content that's going to attract those people, not the viewer, but the buyer. Um, yeah, because I mean, the big mistake is most people are trying to optimize for the viewer, and and that's not going to bring you sales. That's not going to bring you profits. That's not going to grow your business. Okay, so let's go. Let me ask you a few questions, and if you're here with me today, put this in the chat. Like, um, if you're watching, like, let's say you've got a video, and the person watching it is asking questions. And God, let me give you an example. The other day, I mean, this was the other day. I mean, yeah, definitely. Like the other day, I was, and I can't show you this right now because it's like sitting on my desk, but I was looking for a like a podcast studio setup because I did start a podcast. And when I went online and I went to YouTube, what I was looking for is what's going to help me produce a podcast, the most efficient, the highest quality. And I watched videos like for hours on podcasting systems. And because the main question that I wanted to answer is like, am I going to make a right decision? I'm going to spend a couple of $1,000s on this. Am I making the right choice? And then that's when you're, especially when you're making content, that's when you're thinking about your buyer versus your viewer. If you're just doing um, like a lifestyle video and you're showing, oh, look, I got this really cool camera, boom, 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 but you're not talking about the camera. Like this I researched as well before I bought this. I did a lot of YouTube videos and I discovered that this was the best bang for my buck. And and I wasn't afraid of making that decision. I wanted clarity. I wanted confidence. Okay. So that's kind of like what you're looking for when you have the buyer in mind and you want to think about creating content for the buyer. How can I help them make a better decision? Right. So it's not for views, it's for a buyer. Okay. Yeah, this is just real. I've got this quote on my desk right here, and it's like, um, you know, yeah. So these are the questions. What happens if I choose the wrong vendor? What risks am I not seeing? Who actually knows what they're talking about? Right. These are some of the questions that you're trying to answer for the buyer. And then yeah, there's a key phrase here: 1,000 right people beats 100,000 wrong ones. Right. So that goes back to viewer versus buyer. So let's say you get 1 million views and you get zero sales, then you're just like pushing your content out to the wrong people. But let's say you get 20 or 30 views on your video, but then you get 5 qualified leads. That's way better than getting 1 million views because you're actually affecting your bottom line in your business. You got a sales funnel coming in. So that's focusing on the buyer versus the viewer. So now let's dive into like, so we're talking about supporting the business. So let's look at the revenue supporting content styles. Like what's the type of content that's gonna support revenue coming into your business? Because again, that's really important. Okay, we've got three basic. There's like four, but today let's talk about three basic content styles that support a sales funnel, that support you growing your business. The first one is trust building content. Are you building trust with the buyer, right? So we're not talking about viewers anymore, but it is the viewer, but are you building trust with the buyer? And some examples of these kinds of videos are like how things actually work. Okay. I've watched several videos on how this camera actually works before I bought it. I watched several videos on how this podcasting, which is this mic as well, how this works before I bought it, right? I was Rode. I bought the Rode Procaster Pro 2, and I Rode built trust with me because of their videos. They actually have a YouTube channel, and it's a great YouTube channel. Okay, now another example of content that builds trust is common misconceptions. Okay, that's another one, and then industry explanations. So those three: how things actually work, common misconceptions, and industry explanations. These are trust building videos. And of course, what are you trying to do? You're trying to, like, before I made it, I was afraid to make this purchase. A couple of $1,000s to make this purchase. I was afraid to spend the money because am I going to make the right choice? Is it going to suck? So the key thing that you're trying to do and understand is that when you build that trust, you're reducing the fear of the person, the buyer, to make that choice to buy your product. Okay, so that's great. That's great news, right? Okay, the second bucket of content that you want to create is decision content. And decision content looks like comparisons, mistakes buyers make, risks and trade offs, and what not to do. So those are great comparison decision content that helps the buyer make a decision, right? I did like when I was doing the Roadcaster Pro 2 like videos. I did like YouTube content where the YouTube content creator actually compared different systems. That was really great. And sometimes that's hard to do because do you want to compare your product with someone else's product? Or do you want to let someone else do it? Like, you've got a choice there, but it's better if you do it. And then you can point out the key things and you can point out the pros and the cons of both. I mean, because you're trying to build trust, right? Trying to get a decision. The third content bucket that you want to look at is sales support content. Okay, are you putting up videos that your sales team can use? And does there's another like kind of like a hole, a break in that system? Because this is about creating systems. Is when your sales staff doesn't know that there's all these videos, a library of content that can help them close the deal, right? Those are great videos, and those videos look like what to expect next. Another one is like, here's how pricing really works. And another one, yeah, we did that. We did one of those videos for one of my clients is like, how the pricing structure works for our business. We did that. Even I've got another foundation repair company. We did a pricing video as well too. Those are great sales support content. Now another one is here's how we're different. That's another type of video. And another example is I think I said what to expect next. Yeah, what to expect next. Pricing. That this is how the pricing works and how we're different. Those are great examples of creating sales support content that your sales staff can refer. Hey, someone calls you up. Someone calls the sales staff up and says, "Hey, I've got these questions. These questions. Hey, we've got a great video. Let me send you the link so you can watch that. And then if you have any questions, give me a call." And that just it shortens the sales cycle. Okay. Okay. Now, let's look at metrics that you need to understand as like if you're a marketing director, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're creating content for somebody else that's affecting their bottom line, stay away from views and subscribers and likes and comments to report that, right? Those are important metrics for you to understand the people that are watching your video. So then you can analyze it and adjust your content to see what's working as well. But then the metrics that you want to report to the executives, right? So yeah, this is what they care about. This is what shows the proof. Okay, YouTube is working. Um, so let me just list these real quick. You want pipeline influence, revenue influence, cost per lead, their lead quality, and deal velocity. Like deal velocity is how much faster the sales get closed because of the videos. That's an important one. You can have someone like in the sales funnel for 6 months, especially if you're a high ticket item. And if that shortened it 3 months because they watched so much bunch of videos, dude, that's great. That's the deal velocity. Your lead quality is also very important. I remember I was doing some work for a dentist, and one day I came into the office and she goes, "Hey, Eric, we are getting the wrong clients here. The quality of the people calling me, the leads, is not good. These people, they don't have insurance, they don't have money, and we don't want those clients." So that helped me adjust, right? I mean, that's a great tool to say, okay, we need to adjust how we're marketing to these people and what the kind of content that we're creating. That's important. The cost per lead is important. That tells you, okay, if it costs $10,000 to produce a video and you got 10 leads, then you can kind of say, okay, that's it's costing me $1,000 per lead to produce that content. It's really, really good numbers to have. So then you can understand the revenue coming in and then how many sales you closed, and then, of course, how the pipeline was influenced, right? If you guys have any questions about that, go ahead and comment in the chat. Let me know. This is all great stuff. So, so a key thing to understand is that when YouTube can defend itself with these numbers, right? It stops being an optional thing. It becomes a necessary thing. The company needs this because the numbers are there defending it. And and then that just helps you keep YouTube much longer. Because I mean, nobody wants something that's not working, right? Okay, so that definitely leads us to the next thing, consistency without burnout, right? You need to stay consistent. With some companies, I've seen it take 6 to 8 months before we really saw a change in the amount of leads and the revenue of the business. And that's a big commitment, but you got to be consistent. You got to commit to that and be consistent. We were posting one video every single week. We had some shorts going out. We had some social media posts going out for 6 months before the owner of the company came back to me and said, "Wow, Eric, we're really seeing something here. This is really working. Thank you so much." Right. But I remember like 2 months into creating content, he came up to me and says, "Hey, Eric, we're not seeing any leads." Because you got to be consistent. You got to build it over time. And then you build that library, and then it really starts integrating into the whole sales process. Okay, so let me explain this really, really simply. You want to help you be consistent, because that's really, really important. You want one plan, you want one cadence, you want one owner, right? You can't have a bunch of owners. It's like, what's that famous saying? Too many cooks and no chefs. So or it's like too many chiefs and no engines. There's It kind of goes both ways. Is it too many chefs and no cooks? Yeah, I think it was like too many chefs and no cooks. That's how the saying goes. And too many chiefs and no engines. Like you need one owner, you need one chef, you need one chief, and that person has to own it, and they have to be responsible for it, and they have to understand they need a business plan. You need a business plan. You need a YouTube business plan for this to work, and you need to be consistent with it. Okay. And remember, the goal is not about being viral. You don't want a viral video. Viral videos sometimes are the opposite. They crash the system instead of making it better, especially if you're not ready for it. And then we go back to systems. Maybe one day we'll make a video about systems. Do you have those systems in place? Like, you get a viral video and you don't have enough sales staff, it's going to crash, and then you're going to get a bad reputation, and then people aren't going to want to call you up anymore. And then, word of mouth travels pretty fast. Rumors travel very, very fast. Okay, so then back to that, you don't want a viral video, you don't want trends, you don't want content calendars, you want a business plan that's tied to revenue. Okay? Once you have that business plan that's tied to revenue, then you can go back in and say, "Okay, let's schedule, let's do one video a week." And then you look at the different content buckets, right? We got the videos that build trust, the videos that are going to close the deal. I mean, you're then you can kind of figure out which ones you want, and then put those and schedule them out. Okay. Do you guys have any questions? I did put the workbook in the chat. And, let's take a look at that workbook real quick. Let's spend like 3 minutes looking at that workbook, so that I will definitely make a video about this workbook so you can download it and use it to help you create your business plan. But let me share this screen. Okay, we got window. We've got build this. We're gonna share that. Um, Bam. There you go. Do you see this workbook? So let's run through this real quick. This is what I put. I put this link in the chat. If you don't see it in the chat, send me a message, and I will give you a link to download it. And of course, I will make this available later on, and I make a whole video about it. The YouTube Business Plan Workbook. Build a channel that supports revenue, not just content. Okay, so this is in sections. So basically, it's kind of like writing a business plan. And section one, define the business job of YouTube, right? Why does the channel exist? So here you just write it out, and here's some examples: support pipeline growth, educate buyers before sales conversations, reduce friction in long buying cycles, establish authority in a crowded market. So these are examples, but give your YouTube channel a job. Give your videos a job. What are they going to do? And then just write it down here. Okay. Now, what happens if YouTube disappears? That's very important because you're building out your content and you're putting it on YouTube, and all of a sudden tomorrow YouTube disappears or they shut down your channel for some reason. What's going to happen? If you're drawing 50% of your business, 80%, 90% of your business from YouTube, what's going to happen if it just disappears tomorrow? Write it out. What's going to happen? Okay. Um, Define the buyer, not the audience. So today we talked about that, the difference between the audience and the buyer. Define them, okay? And have one specific person in mind. Fill it out. Like when we were working for the Health Benefits Network, and we sat down and we defined that buyer to the T. It was a 36-year-old woman with two kids. They were in elementary school. I mean, we everything there. We had their salary. You know, that was all written down to the T, and that's important, right? Because that's going to help you influence the content you create. And that'll also help you understand section exercise 2 is understanding their fears. Okay. Do you see my screen? Let me see. Window share. I'm kind of worried I might have hit a button with my hand, but I'm not sure if you see my screen or not. Let me double check here. Let's go to, because it's not showing up on my side. Okay, yeah, it is showing up. Okay, good. For some reason, the software is not working very well. Okay, it's delayed. Okay. So once you have the buyer in mind, understand their fears. What are their fears? Because remember, that's a bucket you're going to create. You're going to create videos to help address those fears. Let's see. Okay, the buyer's core questions. That's very important. Write those out. Place YouTube in the buyer's journey, right? That's very important. I mean, there's some really, really good books about the buyer's journey. And actually, I have a very, very good friend that really understands the buyer's journey very well. I'm going to try to get him on a podcast one day and talk with him about that. But definitely, where does YouTube help most? Check off. What does YouTube replace? Check that off. And then now design revenue supporting content. This is where you're going to decide, okay, these are the 3 videos ideas that I want to make. Okay. Now, here, and of course, you've got trust building content, decision content, and sales support content. And then if you fill all these out, you've got pretty much 9 videos that you can produce in the pipeline. And that's great. Then define success. Here you go, write it out. What are the business metrics that matter to your boss or your company? And then fill it out. Build a sustainable execution plan. Okay, yep. Are you going to go weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? What do you want to do? And who is going to be in charge of this? Who's the owner? Okay. And then risks and reality check. So definitely download this. It's in the chat. When I make a video, I'm going to make a video going through this so that we can all go through this together. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to actually build out that plan and get your YouTube channel going. Now, remember, my company is Content Guaranteed, and my goal is to help businesses grow, and this is how I do it. So if you are interested in getting a free strategy session, okay, go to my website, www.contentguaranteed, and schedule a free strategy session. I'll sit down with you for 30 minutes and look at what you're doing and help you come up with a plan to make it better. And if you want to hire me, I will definitely help you guys create content that will have an impact on your business. I hope you enjoyed this live stream. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. all that good stuff. And I look forward to seeing you next week.